Watch how Parliament erupts as MPs launch a fierce attack on Britain's asylum system, warning that broken border policies are putting communities under pressure and testing public confidence. With emotions running high, MPs demand tougher action on illegal immigration, detention and deportation during this explosive Westminster debate. Before we continue, hit like and subscribe to Britain Daily for more explosive political coverage. Let's watch this explosive clip.
For 3 decades, successive governments have promised to get tough on illegal immigration. According to Home Office figures, in the last 7 years alone, around 500,000 people have claimed asylum in the UK. 200,000 of those came in on small boats. Most of the others were visa overstayers. In that time, around 60% of all asylum claims have been granted refugee status, including those granted after appeal. An estimate showed that 66% of adults with refugee status are now claiming universal credit. That means that up to 300,000 people who illegally entered or remained in the United Kingdom since 2019 have been granted refugee status. Most could now be claiming benefits, including housing benefit. By 2030, this number could be over 400,000. That is a city the size of Coventry, comprised almost entirely of people who should have never been allowed to stay in the United Kingdom. And the frightening thing about these numbers, going back decades, we actually have no real idea just how many illegal immigrants and visa overstayers are in this country, living under the radar in our communities. Poor record keeping by the Home Office means that the estimated population of people with no right to remain in the United Kingdom is highly likely to be over 1 million. Thousands go missing every year, and the government still fails to properly monitor whether migrants leave the UK after their visas expire. Labour say they're tackling the problem, but they're simply increasing the speed that illegal immigrants are granted asylum. They have increased the legal aid for appeals by 30% to over £60 million a year, and we currently have a record 80,000 appeals underway. And since Keir Starmer has been Prime Minister, we have seen more than 72,000 small boat arrivals with no serious attempt to stop them. But why is all this such a problem? Because their presence corrodes the rule of law, costs billions in accommodation and welfare costs, distorts low-wage labour markets and signals to the world that Britain's borders are open. Illegal immigrants from some countries have a medieval attitude to women and girls. Sexual assault and rape by migrants from certain countries is far higher than our own indigenous population, 20 times higher for those from Afghanistan. There are documented examples of illegal immigrants loitering outside schools, filming children, following girls, trying to engage with them for sex. Let me give you some specific, harrowing examples. Sheriz Malik, illegal immigrant of Pakistani origin, less than 12 months in the UK, and he had raped a vulnerable young girl in a park in Sutton in Ashfield. Denj Majek, illegal of Sudanese origin, arrived in the UK July 24. By October 24, he had stalked and murdered 27-year-old Rhiannon White. Abdullah Ahmadi, Ibrahim Al-Shafi, Kareen Al-Danassarat, illegal migrants of Iran and Egyptian origin, arrived in the UK in June 25. By October 25, they had targeted a young vulnerable woman on a night out in Brighton, beaten her, choked her, and gang raped her. I could go on. There's pages of examples. The safety of women and girls in this country is at risk because of our immigration policy. Furthermore, we know that criminals are entering our country on small boats, bringing with them the contacts into ruthless organised crime gangs that operate on our high streets, laundering money, dealing drugs, selling illegal vapes and cigarettes to children. Yet no DNA is taken on arrival. Why not? And what about our homeless veterans or those British citizens on housing lists who find themselves pushed aside and left behind in favour of housing illegal migrants? The total annual cost of the asylum system is over £8 billion and rising. We cannot sustain this situation. We are not a food bank or a hotel for the world. Illegal immigration is helping to bankrupt this country. Our high streets are being overrun by crime, our women and girls are under attack, and our culture is under threat. Why does anyone think that that is okay? We need to detain and deport every illegal immigrant that lands on our shores. We need to put the Navy in the Channel and stop them landing on our shores. Those that are here illegally need to be moved offshore and processed and returned to their country of origin. We need to leave the ECHR to put an end to the years of appeals that mean that hardly any illegal immigrants are ever deported. We need to stop the invasion of our country by those that have no right to be here and that come because they know they will get a free house, free food, benefits, medical treatment ahead of our own citizens. And no one who has come here illegally or remained here should ever be granted British citizenship. To summarise, we need to detain, we need to deport, we need a zero-tolerance policy. It is about the will of a government to do so. Other countries have secured their borders. And if we are to survive, we must do the same. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship today, Mr Twigg. And I'm grateful for the honourable member for Berwickshire, Roxburgh and Selkirk for moving this motion, and to the vast number of people, 720,000, including 1,093 from my constituency of Tatton, who signed this important petition and prompted this debate calling for offshore detention and deportation of illegal immigrants. Now, according to the Home Office data, just under 77,000 illegal immigrants have arrived by small boat since Labour took charge in July 2024. The average daily arrivals under Labour is around 104 per day. That is 94% higher than under the previous Conservative government, an extraordinary increase. And on Friday, just gone, the 10th of July, another shameful record was set. The highest number of illegal immigrants on a single dinghy, 128, arrived in the UK. And in total on that day, 225 arrived in 3 dinghies. Now, this is from a government that pledged to reduce illegal migration, promising to smash the gangs. And yet those promises turned out to be just smoke and mirror. And I'm saying it was just to secure a general election victory. For reducing immigration is just not in Labour's DNA. Only a fleeting search online is enough to show images of cabinet members clutching refugee welcome signs. And without doubt, one of the biggest mistakes the Prime Minister made, in a strong field of them, was to cancel the Rwanda scheme, an offshore processing centre and permanent resettlement programme. We know that deterrence is an important component in tackling organised immigration crime, and as Steve Rodhouse, Director General of Operations at the agency, told the Home Affairs Committee in 2019, the people willing to make the journey across the Channel know that there is a very low risk that they will be returned. And I'm sure that is more true today than it was even then. Rwanda would have tackled this head on. The Rwanda agreement would have allowed for the forcible relocation of asylum seekers, people who have already been refused asylum, and those who make unauthorised illegal journeys to the UK. Rwanda would then grant them asylum or permanent residence. It was a scheme that the National Crime Agency described as a deterrent. In fact, we were starting to see dinghies from France heading to Ireland and other countries. There was a drop in channel crossings in 2023 after the plan was announced, going from 45,000 illegal crossings in 2022 to 29,000 in 2023, a 35% decrease. Without the Rwanda plan or deportation to another country, we have been left with no way to remove illegal immigrants, those who destroy their documents to hide their country of origin. And, like much of this government's foreign policy, the weakness in this Labour government has become opportunities for other countries elsewhere. The United States have signed agreements with 34 countries to allow for third country deportations, and according to the Migration Policy Institute, the US government has plans to contact at least another 50 countries about similar agreements, including, you guessed it, Rwanda. And the model has expanded across Europe too. The EU is now in the process of adopting legislation permitting EU member states to reach agreements with non-EU member states for the establishment of return hubs. These are logical decisions and logical policies, but the government failed to see this, and as a result, illegal immigration has soared. And as the petition rightly points out, the current use of hotels and a temporary accommodation is unsustainable, costly, and dangerous. We simply cannot have people breaking into our country and being rewarded for their criminality with hotel accommodation, healthcare, travel, translation services, recreational facilities and more, costing the British taxpayer billions of pounds a year. And we have seen just how dangerous it can be with horrific case after horrific case, just as the brutal and frenzied murder of Warsaw hotel worker Rhiannon White by a Sudanese illegal immigrant who just arrived by small boats 3 months previously showed. And Mehebi Nur, a Somali national, walked into a bank and stabbed a father of 3 dead. Hadish Kabatu arrived by boat and was then convicted of multiple sexual assaults. And then Ahmed Malarkey, guilty of raping a 12-year-old. This is the reality of not knowing who is coming into our country. Not only are these policy failures putting communities in danger, but it is downright unfair on society to prioritise illegal immigrants in this way. Just look at the plan there for Stoke Heath in Shropshire, where the Home Office was all set to move immigrants into brand new housing. An absolute kick in the teeth for local families who were told that that estate would offer affordable or social housing for them. Many who'd been waiting on a housing list for years. And what about veterans? Where's their brand new housing? Where are we housing them? No, thankfully, this community seems to have stopped that in its track, having put up fierce opposition to this government. And the Home Secretary now tells us that new build estates like this will never be considered again. Well, we can only hope that that is true. Labour have not smashed the gangs as promised, but they are certainly succeeding in smashing our local communities. Forced to play host to sudden influx of illegal immigrants, this government talks tough, but that's all it does, talks tough without action. The reality is that until the government develops a spine, reinstates the Rwanda scheme, takes the UK out of the ECHR and repeals the Human Rights Act, we have no chance of deporting those who come here
Today's
illegally.
Westminster Hall debate highlighted one of the most divisive issues facing British politics: illegal immigration and the future of the asylum system. Reform UK MP Sarah Pochin argued that the current system is placing significant pressure on public services, housing and border enforcement. She called for stronger border controls, offshore processing, increased detention and faster deportations for people with no legal right to remain in the UK. Throughout her speech, she maintained that successive governments had failed to restore public confidence in the immigration system. Conservative MP Esther McVey echoed many of those concerns, pointing to small boat crossings, the use of hotels for asylum accommodation and the cost to taxpayers. She argued that stronger deterrence and more effective enforcement were needed, while criticising Labour's decision to end the Rwanda policy and questioning whether the government's current approach would reduce illegal migration. Immigration remains one of the most debated issues in Britain because it affects questions of border security, public spending, housing, community confidence, and the operation of the asylum system. Parliament continues to debate how to balance enforcement, legal obligations and humanitarian responsibilities. Today's debate showed just how sharply MPs disagree over the best way forward, and those disagreements are likely to remain at the centre of British politics. What do you think? Should the government introduce tougher measures on illegal immigration and asylum, or should it pursue a different approach to reform the system? Share your views respectfully in the comments below. And if you enjoy watching the biggest debates from Westminster, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Britain Daily, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest Commons debates, PMQs, and breaking political news.